All right, so you ready to dive in?
I am ready. Let's do it.
Okay, awesome. Today we are going deep on Doja Cat.
Oh, I love her.
She's amazing.
She's so talented. She's great.
You probably know her music, you love her music, but I bet you there's layers to this artist you haven't even considered.
Mm-hmm.
And get this. Today, we're going to be unlocking all those layers thanks to a deep dive into, wait for it, Wikipedia.
Yes. I love Wikipedia.
I know, me too. Okay, so we're going beyond the typical greatest hits rundown.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're talking about the nitty-gritty details that make Doja Cat so fascinating.
Yeah.
It's those Wikipedia rabbit holes where you start with one link.
Totally.
And then 3 hours later, you're suddenly learning about the history of rubber bands or something.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be like that, but all about Doja Cat.
Yes. And you'd be surprised how much even a simple Wikipedia page can reveal about an artist's journey. Take her birth name, for example.
Oh, yeah.
Amala Ratna Zandil Dlamini, born October 24th, 1995. Even her name tells a story.
That's a name. Whoa.
Right?
That's a mouthful. And it kind of reflects her super diverse background too, right?
Absolutely. Her mother, Deborah Sawyer, is American Jewish graphic designer, and her father, Dumisani Dlamini, is a South African actor and dancer of Zulu descent.
Wow.
In fact, he was part of the original Broadway cast of Serafina.
No way. The musical.
The musical.
That's a serious artistic pedigree.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, were those performance genes just waiting to explode in Doja Cat?
Right. Nature versus nurture. Was she going to be this way regardless of her upbringing? It's something to think about, especially when you look at the complexities of their relationship. So Doja Cat has spoken about being estranged from her father, while he claims that they have a good bond. It's a classic example of how family dynamics can be messy, even for someone in the spotlight.
Totally. Reminds us that there's always more than meets the eye, even with celebrities. Speaking of hidden depths, I read that she spent part of her childhood living in a Hindu ashram in California.
Yes, for about 4 years. And it wasn't just living there. She was actively practicing Hinduism and even singing devotional songs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's fascinating, What's fascinating is how this experience might have influenced her musical style, especially her early work. Her debut EP, Purr, has been described as Eastern-influenced R&B, which might not be as random as it sounds.
Okay, break that down for me. Eastern-influenced R&B. What's that even sound like?
So think about traditional Indian scales and melodies blended with the smooth grooves of R&B.
Okay.
So you might hear instruments like the sitar or tabla subtly woven into the mix, or vocal techniques that draw from Indian classical music.
Okay.
It's kind of this fusion of sounds that create that unique, almost hypnotic vibe you hear in Purr.
Whoa. I haven't thought about it like that. That's really interesting. So it's like those early experiences, even the seemingly unrelated ones, can leave these little sonic fingerprints on an artist's sound.
Exactly. It's those unexpected connections that make deep dives so rewarding.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, this was a kid who was not only immersed in ashram life, she was also breakdancing, skateboarding, and surfing.
Oh, wow.
We're talking about someone who thrives on diverse experiences and isn't afraid to push boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have this multi-talented kid with a super interesting upbringing, but then she drops out of high school at 16.
Yeah.
I read that she was dealing with ADHD, which kind of makes you think about the path not taken, right?
It does. It highlights how success isn't always linear. Sometimes it takes detours and unconventional choices to find your true calling.
Right.
And for Doja Cat, that calling led her straight to SoundCloud.
Here's where it gets juicy.
Yeah.
Forget fancy studios. She's making music in her bedroom, teaching herself to sing, rap, and produce using GarageBand. Talk about DIY queen.
It's the ultimate testament to the power of the internet and how it's leveled the playing field for aspiring artists. Think about it, SoundCloud's like the digital equivalent of those gritty underground clubs where legends are born. It allows artists to bypass the traditional gatekeepers and connect directly with audiences.
It's so true.
Yeah.
And it's almost more impressive in a way. She built a following organically, one upload at a time, before anyone knew her name.
Mm-hmm.
And it was through this platform that her early track, So High, caught the attention of, wait for it, Dr. Luke.
Yep. Oh, wow.
At just 17 years old, she signed with Dr. Luke's Kimosabi Records and RCA Records.
Oh.
This was huge, launching her into the major league.
That's a wild move. I mean, at that age, I was barely figuring out how to do laundry.
Right.
But here she is navigating the music industry, signing a major deal.
It speaks volumes about her ambition and her drive.
Yeah.
She was clearly ready to take her music to the next level.
Yeah.
And while her debut EP Purr was a taste of what was to come, it was her debut album Amala that really marked her entrance onto the scene.
And Amala didn't exactly set the world on fire, right? Well, it's actually a common story for artists, even those who become massive stars later on. Sometimes it takes a few tries to hit your stride and find your audience.
It makes sense. You're constantly evolving as an artist, experimenting with different sounds and styles, and sometimes it takes a while for all those pieces to click into place.
Precisely. And for Doja Cat, that missing piece turned out to be a cow costume and a song about
Wow.
being a cow.
Here it is. The moment everything changed. This homemade music video, complete with green screen cows and a catchy as hell beat, became a viral sensation overnight.
And it wasn't just a silly meme.
Right.
It revealed a brilliant understanding of internet culture and how to harness it for creative expression.
Absolutely. It was self-aware, absurd, and impossible to ignore. She understood the power of online humor and how to create something that was both catchy and shareable.
Oh. Proved that Doja Cat was more than just a talented musician. She was a savvy internet personality who could connect with audiences in a completely new way. It was a turning point in her career. But the story doesn't stop there.
Okay, so we left off with Moo taking over the internet.
Yeah.
But it's not like Doja Cat just rode that wave of viral fame forever, did she?
Not at all. Moo was just the catalyst, you know? It got people's attention, sure. But it was her next album, Hot Pink, released in 2019, that really solidified her place in the music world.
That's the one with Say So, right? I mean, that song was everywhere.
Exactly. And the remix with Nicki Minaj,
Oh, yeah.
that was a game changer. It became the first female rap collaboration to ever hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100.
That's incredible. That's huge. It's like they broke down a door for other female rappers, showing the power of collaboration and just how much talent was out there.
It was a historic moment for sure, but Hot Pink wasn't just about chart-topping hits. It showcased Doja Cat's versatility, blending pop sensibilities with those signature rap verses, and a healthy dose of R&B vibes.
And let's not forget the visuals.
Yes.
Her music videos from this era were like next level, full of vibrant colors, quirky choreography, and a playful energy that was impossible to resist.
She really understood how to create a whole visual world around her music, which is something that's become a hallmark of her artistry.
Totally. It's not just listening to a Doja Cat song, it's like experiencing it. And speaking of experiences, remember when she hosted the 2021 MTV VMAs? Talk about a full circle moment.
It was. From making beats in her bedroom to commanding the stage at one of music's biggest nights, her ascent was truly remarkable.
And it wasn't just hosting. She was performing, winning awards. She was basically running the whole show.
She was on fire that night. It was a clear sign that Doja Cat had arrived and she was here to stay.
And then came Planet Her in 2021.
I feel like this album took things to a whole new level. It was like she was building her own galaxy of sound, pulling influences from everywhere.
Absolutely. Planet Her felt like a culmination of everything she'd been building toward. It was ambitious, experimental, and full of those intergalactic vibes you mentioned.
And she wasn't afraid to collaborate with some serious heavy hitters. The Weeknd, Ariana Grande, JID, SCA, the list goes on. Exactly. It showed her growing influence in the industry and her ability to move between different genres and styles.
And can we talk about how Planet Her spent weeks at #2 on the Billboard 200? It was the first album to achieve that since Nicki Minaj's The Pink Print back in 2015. She was basically following in the footsteps of her idol.
It's a testament to the power of her artistry and her ability to connect with a massive audience.
Yeah.
She was reaching new heights, but she wasn't done evolving.
And that brings us to Scarlet, her fourth album, released in 2023. This one felt like a bit of a departure, didn't it?
It did. It was definitely a darker, more experimental sound compared to her previous work. It's like she was shedding a skin and revealing a new layer of herself.
Yeah, there was a rawness and vulnerability to Scarlet that felt really powerful. It was like she was inviting us into a more personal space.
And let's not forget Paint the Town Red,
Oh yeah.
her first solo #1 single. It was a bold statement, both musically and visually.
That music video was straight out of a horror movie. I loved it. It felt like she was fully embracing this darker, edgier aesthetic.
She was, and it paid off. Paint the Town Red topped charts globally and solidified her status as one of the defining artists of the decade.
But even with all this success, she keeps pushing the boundaries. She even released a deluxe edition of Scarlet titled Scarlet 2 Claude. which has some interesting connections to the character Claude Frollo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Right. It's those unexpected twists that keep us guessing.
Yeah.
You never know what she's going to do next.
And that's part of what makes her so fascinating. So we've covered the albums, the hits, the awards, but what about the person behind the music? What makes Doja Cat tick?
Well, that's where things get even more interesting, because Doja Cat is a master of reinvention.
Yeah.
Her public persona is constantly evolving, which makes her incredibly difficult to pin down.
Yeah. She's definitely not afraid to keep us on our toes.
Yeah.
So how do we even begin to understand this constantly shifting artist? I guess we need to dive a little deeper into the Doja Cat psyche.
Yeah.
So we've been talking about Doja Cat's evolution as an artist, but it's clear she's more than just the music.
Yeah.
It's the whole package, the visuals, the performances, the online persona. She's created a whole universe around herself.
And it's a universe that's constantly expanding, defying easy categorization.
Yeah.
One minute she's embracing a hyper-feminine aesthetic, the next she's channeling like dark gothic energy. It's like she's playing with these different facets of her personality, and we get to watch it all unfold in real time.
It's like she's saying, I'm not just one thing, I'm all of this and more.
Right.
Which is pretty empowering, honestly.
Yeah.
It's like she's giving permission to her fans to embrace their own complexity.
Exactly. She's not afraid to be contradictory, to be messy, to be vulnerable. And in a world that often pushes us to present like a perfectly curated version of ourselves,
Yeah.
that kind of authenticity is incredibly refreshing.
So how does this play out in her music? We've talked about her genre-bending sound.
Yeah.
But what about her lyrical style? What are like the themes that she explores?
Well, one thing that stands out is her willingness to tackle both like lighthearted and serious topics.
Okay.
She can write a catchy pop anthem about partying 1 minute, then drop a verse about heartbreak or self-doubt the next.
It's that blend of humor and vulnerability that makes her so relatable.
Totally.
It's like she's saying, hey, I'm going through all this stuff too.
Yeah.
Life's a roller coaster. Let's just ride it together.
Exactly. And she does it all with this sharp wit and clever wordplay.
Right.
Her lyrics are often playful and layered with meaning, inviting you to listen closely and unpack the different layers.
It's like she's rewarding those who are paying attention, those who are willing to dig a little deeper.
Yeah.
And that extends to her visuals too.
Yes.
Her music videos are like mini movies full of symbolism and hidden messages.
They're definitely not just afterthoughts.
Right.
They're integral to the storytelling, adding another dimension to the music.
Totally.
And her fashion choices. Let's just say she's not afraid to take risks.
Remember that worm dress at the VMAs? Iconic.
Oh, yeah.
It's like she's constantly challenging our expectations of what a pop star should look and sound like.
She's not just following trends, she's setting them. And that boldness extends to her online persona as well.
Oh, yeah.
She's not afraid to speak her mind, even when it sparks controversy.
She's definitely had her fair share of online dust-ups.
Right.
But it's like she's always learning and growing from those experiences.
It's a reminder that even someone as successful as Doja Cat is still a work in progress.
Yeah.
She's not perfect, and she's not afraid to admit it.
And that's a powerful message to send to her young fan base.
Yeah.
It's like she's saying it's okay to mess up, to make mistakes, to be figuring things out as you go.
It's about embracing the journey with all its ups and downs. And that's ultimately what makes Doja Cat so fascinating.
Yeah, she's a constant evolution.
Yeah.
A whirlwind of creativity
Yeah.
and a force to be reckoned with.
So where does she go from here? It's hard to say.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling she's just getting started.
Doja Cat has already achieved incredible things in her career, but I think her greatest act of reinvention is yet to come.
Yeah.
She's shown us that she's capable of anything, and that's what makes her so exciting to watch.
She's a true original, a shapeshifter, an artist who refuses to be put in a box.
Absolutely.
And that's why we love her.
So as you go back to listening to her music, keep this in mind. Pay attention to the details, to the layers, to the evolution. Because with Doja Cat, there's always something more to discover.
Well said. It's been a wild ride exploring the world of Doja Cat.
It has.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and until next time, keep those Wikipedia tabs open and stay curious.